There are melodies when sung or hummed that bring about immense nostalgia and elation. There are phrases that feel less like words and more like invitations. Iftah Ya Simsim, open sesame. Not a cave, not a treasure, not a secret code. Open your mind, open your curiosity, open a connection. For millions of Arab children growing up between 1979 and the late 1980s, these words weren't just a prelude to a show. They were the signal of a new world, a world where learning was magical and playful. Arabic was musical, and imagination was treated with respect.
هذا المفك لا ينفع للفرقي. المفك كبير. نحتاج إلى مفك أصغر. كل شيء له شيء يناسبه. عندك مفك أصغر؟
Today, Iftah Ya Simsim is remembered as the first of its kind children's television program, developed by the GCC's Joint Program Production Institute. But that description alone doesn't capture its ambition. It was the Arab world's first major experiment in creating a shared cultural space for children. A project built on collaboration across borders, and one of the most successful examples of soft cultural unity in the modern Arab world. To understand Iftah Ya Simsim, we must first look west. 10 years earlier, in 1969, Sesame Street premiered in the United States. It was revolutionary. It reimagined the preschool classroom for television, mixing live action, puppetry, music, and humor. It transformed learning into a narrative experience where letters and numbers were embedded in stories, songs, and human interaction. The show's core innovation wasn't just educational, it was cultural and social. By reflecting the diversity of American cities, particularly urban neighborhoods, it created a mirror for children to see themselves and their communities. When Arab educators and broadcasters encountered this model in the 1970s, they recognized its potential, but also its limits. Sesame Street was American in tone, humor, and context. Its characters, streets, and social dynamics were deeply rooted in New York City. The challenge was clear: how to translate not just the lessons, but the very world into the Arab context. In the American version, children learned alongside Big Bird on 123 Sesame Street, a bustling, multicultural urban block. Every neighbor, every storefront, every alleyway contributed to the educational tapestry. In creating Iftah Ya Simsim, producers didn't simply dub the American episodes into Arabic. This approach would have failed. Instead, the neighborhood itself was transformed. Gone were the stoops of Manhattan, the fire escapes, the brownstones. In came a new Arab neighborhood, sun-washed streets, courtyards, and communal spaces where children could see their familiar surroundings. The architecture, daily life, and social interactions were recognizable to viewers from Morocco to Iraq. Even small details mattered. Courtyards replaced stoops, reflecting communal life. Neighborhood stores, tea vendors, and shaded benches created a rhythm of daily life that children instantly understood. Animals and pets common in the Arab world, the goats, the cats, and the chickens, appeared in ways that mirrored local experiences. By reimagining the physical and social environment, the show allowed children to see themselves, their families, and their neighborhoods reflected in every story. This was cultural translation at its deepest level, not just language substitution. The transformation from Sesame Street to Iftah Ya Simsim went far beyond buildings. It recast the puppets themselves and the human characters as well. Nu'man was the Arab Big Bird. Big Bird was tall, yellow, and relentlessly curious, a figure embodying wonder and innocence.
نحن الآن في الاستوديو إذا تحب تتعرف على بعض الشخصيات. شخصية نعمان من الشخصيات الأساسية في البرنامج. مرحبا نعمان.
أهلاً أهلاً.
Nu'man inherited these qualities, but was reshaped for the Arab child. Softer in hue, more grounded in mannerisms, curious but occasionally clumsy in ways reflecting everyday life in the Arab neighborhoods. He had a gentler, slower presence, teaching patience and empathy alongside literacy. After all, he was a camel. Nu'man was more than Big Bird with a new costume. He was a figure that embodied Arab values of kindness, respect, and communal awareness, while maintaining the educational curiosity of the original Big Bird.
تعال تعال وصلنا. هذه هي المهملات. لو سمحت انقلها وارميها في المكان المخصص. يلا.
شخصية ثانية من شخصيات البرنامج اللي بحب تعرف عليها هو شخصية ملسون.
انا سمعت ان هاي تعض، يقولون ما ادري العض ولا لا.
ملسون مرحبا.
اهلا اهلا.
Melsoon was the trickster with a lesson. As a parrot, Melsoon carried echoes of characters like Oscar the Grouch or Count von Count, not in function, but in spirit. He was clever, mischievous, and sometimes frustrating. But unlike his American counterparts, Melsoon's mischief always had social and moral grounding, teaching lessons about honesty, responsibility, and cooperation. He represented the questioning child, the one who asks inconvenient questions, challenges norms, and still finds a place in a caring community.
أنا والطيور نأكل الرز حبة حبة. والآن انظروا قريب بعيد. ياهو.
Ghargur literally mirrored Oscar the Grouch, but only in silhouette. Where Oscar celebrated isolation, Ghargur complained, resisted, grumbled. But he never truly withdrew. His grouchiness reflected familiar human flaws, stubbornness, impatience, wounded pride, and unlike his American counterpart, Ghargur almost always returned to the group, sometimes reluctantly, sometimes sheepishly. The lesson wasn't that grumpiness is charming. It was that community absorbs even its difficult members.
واحد اثنان ثلاث أربعة خمسة خمسة الخامس وعشرين.
In the Arab moral universe, no one ever lives alone or in the trash can forever.
عد البرتقال وقل لي كم واحدة. لا أقدر. لماذا؟ أعرف أن أعد القوالب ولا أعرف كيف أعد البرتقالات.
Fatma the teacher, a human character, anchored the neighborhood with patience and clarity.
والآن نحن في النهاية. نحن في نهاية الحلقة. أودعكم وتصبحون على خير.
Modeling learning as guidance rather than authority. Her husband, Hamed the carpenter, worked with his hands and quiet pride, showing children that skill and honesty are forms of intelligence.
وهكذا تستطيع أن تصنع ما تشاء من الرفوف. انظر كم هي جميلة ورخيصة وقوية.
Hisham the electrician brought problem solving into daily life, turning wires and tools into lessons about responsibility and safety.
نجرب المروحة قبل أن تأخذها يا دينار، ها؟
Altogether, these human personalities normalized work, cooperation, and mutual respect. They were not heroes or disciplinarians, they were neighbors. And in their ordinariness, children learned that society is built, quite literally, by people who care. Apart from the uniquely Arab characters, be them puppets or human, some American puppets did make the Iftah Ya Simsim cast cut for some segments of the show. These included Kermit the Frog, whose name was adjusted to Kamil the Frog. The Cookie Monster made an appearance as Kaki, meaning of cake. And finally, Anis and Bedr, who were re-expressions of Fred and Ernie. Beyond the characters and neighborhoods, every educational element was carefully adapted. On the level of language, the show navigated the tension between modern Standard Arabic and regional dialects. MSA was the teaching backbone, clear, formal, and standardized. But everyday speech and humor reflected local flavor, making learning organic. Through the use of song and music, American melodies were replaced with music drawing on Arabic scales, rhythms, and instruments. The songs taught numbers, letters, and concepts while feeling unmistakably familiar. Iftah Ya Simsim also promoted social lessons. Cooperation, honesty, and empathy were foregrounded, but framed through Arab social structures. including extended families, communal spaces, and neighborly interactions. Nothing was left out as potential educational opportunities. Everyday routines like buying bread, visiting a courtyard fountain, celebrating cultural holidays were incorporated into lessons, ensuring children saw themselves in the world the show created. The result was an Arab Sesame Street, familiar, culturally rooted, and educationally ambitious. I really do appreciate you taking the time and watching the Kandidi Chronicles. Please do join our community by subscribing so that you don't miss out on any content regarding the Arab and Muslim history, identity, and modern condition. And if you really do enjoy the channel week in and week out and would like to support us even further, please do join us at our YouTube membership program as well as on Patreon. Thanks again. The genius of Iftah Ya Simsim lay in its collaborative pan-Arab production model. Kuwait Television took the lead, but consultants, educators, writers, and puppeteers came from multiple Arab countries. Lebanon, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Morocco, and Sudan all contributed expertise. Cultural debates were extensive. How to balance dialect and MSA. Which social lessons could be universally understood. How to depict gender and hierarchy without alienating audiences. The show became an intentional space of Arab cooperation, uniting diverse perspectives around a shared goal, raising children capable of thinking, feeling, and understanding each other. It was a soft, subtle form of unity, one felt in living rooms rather than lecture halls, in laughter rather than declarations. When it aired in late 1979, Iftah Ya Simsim was shown from Morocco to the west and all the way to the Gulf in the east, and within a few months became one of the most popular and successful television shows for children. Sadly, the children of one nation were left out of this experience, Egypt, a decision by the powers that be that was both regretful and unnecessary. What made Iftah Ya Simsim extraordinary wasn't just adaptation, it was resonance. Playing off both the Sesame Street American title and the magical phrase "Open Sesame" found in the Arabian Nights story Ali Baba and the 40 Nights, such a title did indeed unlock hidden treasures for children. To learn, to speak, to read, to write, and to count. A child in Casablanca laughed at the same joke as one in Baghdad. A story about sharing in a courtyard in Abu Dhabi felt identical to one in Tunis. Letters and numbers taught through songs transcended dialect, bridging geography and class. This shared experience created what political scientists might call pan-Arab soft unity, a subtle but powerful cultural alignment. The Arab world, fractured politically and linguistically, found common childhood memories through a show that treated its viewers with intelligence and respect. No politician, no army, no ideology could have created the same bond. Puppets did it, quietly, over half an hour at a time. The original run of Iftah Ya Simsim ended in the late 1980s with the invasion of Kuwait, halting all production. Its lessons, however, lasted for longer. The program taught children that learning wasn't restricted to school. The show taught children how to read and count, with added fluency in MSA, to navigate social relationships with empathy, to understand themselves as part of a larger shared Arab world. It modeled learning as joy, curiosity as virtue, and diversity as normal and equal. By building characters, music, and settings from the Arab context, the show proved that cultural adaptation is not imitation or translation, it's rebirth. For a decade, Arab children shared a neighborhood, characters, and lessons that spoke to all of them, regardless of national borders.
مرحبا، اسمي وسيم. أود أن تتعرفوا على ولدي وليد. أنا والده. سميته وليد لأنني أحب الحرف واو. أين أنت يا وليد؟ وليد! أهلا أيها الوعد. اسمك يبدأ بالحرف واو، ولكنك لست ولدي. وليد.
Iftah Ya Simsim, Open Sesame. The spell wasn't magic, it was belief. Belief that children deserve learning crafted with care, culture, and imagination. That unity doesn't need coercion. That joy and knowledge are inseparable. For those who grew up with Nu'man and Malsoon, the door opened wide. They walked into a world where childhood could be shared, intelligent, and beautiful. And even today, when we speak the word softly, there is a whisper of that world. A reminder that culture, creativity, and collaboration can shape generations in ways politics often cannot. Open the door. Step inside. A treasure of knowledge awaits. The neighborhood is still waiting.